Hey y'all, I'm here from SkyrimScripting.com to give you a demonstration of this mod, AddItemMenu. Now this is clearly a ripoff of AddItemMenu, the wonderful, super popular mod. Here's the author of it, and this says, in fact, it is directly inspired. So here's this wonderful mod. It's also authored by the same author of Auto Harvest. Great, super popular mods. Now the inspiration, there's two inspirations for the creation of AddItemMenu. One of them comes from the AddItemMenu post forum itself. In June of this year, Dark Force 1 asked, maybe a silly question, but does anyone know whether there's a mod like this, but for finding and adding spells powers to your player? So, introducing AddItemMenu. The other inspiration for this was actually the creation of a screencast video tutorial series specifically for Skyrim mod authors. The goal was to take a very popular, great mod out there, like AddItemMenu, and show users how to create it. But in this case, it creates a different mod. Instead of its items, its spells. And this is actually going up on Nexus because it may actually be useful to folks. It's kind of a pleasant experience because it rips off the exact experience that AddItemMenu has. Now there may already be something like this out here. Dark Force 1 couldn't find it. I couldn't find it. Feel free to leave in the post if there's something like this out there. And maybe I'll link to it in the description. But let's take a look-see. Now when we go and install this, it has a number of mod requirements. One of them is UI extensions. This is where you get all these lovely widgets for things like, for us, listing spells, which is wonderful, and searching for spells and things of that nature. So that's one of them, and it is the same UI library that AddItemMenu uses. Now, the other lovely dependency here, which you need to install or nothing will work, is Power of Three's Papyrus Extender. Now, when you go over to that one, you'll find out that it requires itself one other dependency, which is the address library for SKSE plugins. Now, the Papyrus Extender is what makes it possible to introduce this Add Spell menu mod at all without writing C++ code. The AddItemMenu app is a lot more complicated. It has an SKSE plugin. It presumably does a ton of different things to make it possible to add items and armor and all these different things. This simply focuses on spells, which is a lot simpler. So once we have those dependencies, let's go to Add Spell menu, and we'll download it with our favorite mod manager. In our case here, we're using Mod Organizer 2, but this would work perfectly for, it's not available yet. Let me install it because it's privately released. Let me install it directly from a file. So we'll install it from mods, add spell menu, build. Cool. So by the time you watch this, this will be available on Nexus Mods for you to use your mod manager download. Now with that enabled, let's head into the game with SKSE enabled. And here we go. Now note that there's one other optional dependency, which is SkyUI. Without SkyUI, this mod works, but with SkyUI, it shows a much more fantastic menu for trading your spells, essentially for showing all the spells that you've searched for and being able to get them and teach your player. So I'm just going to COC Riverwood so I can hop into the game really quickly here. So center on cell, Riverwood. It creates this random Nord dude with random iron gear. Now if you looked at the top left, you may have seen Add Spell Menu Pack added. This is just like the AddItemMenu experience. If we go into our inventory, and this is using vanilla UI, we can see this MISC pack here. It's got a little pack icon, and here's a couple of items. There's these activator items, which use different icons from the AddItemMenu, but it's all reminiscent. It's all kind of inspired by. So here we go, and we'll go into our books. We can teach ourselves these spells. The search one will add a power, and it says search for spells in the game and all mods. And the other one says it'll show a list of installed mods, and you can select one to view the spells. We'll head on over to our powers, and let's try one of these out. Let's try the regular one. That's not the search. So we'll hit Z to trigger our power. And here we can see all of the Elder Scrolls Masters and any of the plugins that are installed. This may be a very long list for you if you have a number of mods installed. what I've done is I went ahead and downloaded a mod that says it has some custom spells in it. Here's the name of this wonderful mod. It's got a number of endorsements, and it says it adds a couple of teleportation spells to the game. So if we select that one, we can see that there's a number of spells here. Now we'll teach ourselves Blink, and let's say we can see it Blink added, and let's say Shadow Step or something like that. And go to our spells, and we should see Blink and Shadow Step in there. And there's a much better view of this if you do have Sky UI. So I'm going to go back into my mod organizer and just turn on Sky UI, which most of y'all are probably already using anyway. And instead of that little list that shows you the spells that you can add, it shows this wonderful chooser where you can look at the spells, even sort them by the magic skill type, and all sorts of things like that. So we'll try it again. We'll see this pack added again in the left corner. We'll go to our inventory. This time let's use those activator objects, these things. So as soon as you get all the items out of the pack will be removed from your inventory, and you can either use the powers or just click on either one of these objects. So we're going to do search, and we can search for fire. And now it's going to search for any mods that include fire, like Hearthfire, or spells. So it found Hearthfire. I don't think there's any spells in there, so it'll say there's no spells found in it. But if we go back and we search for something like fire, we've got the option to search for all spells with fire. Now that only happened because there's a plugin that has fire in the name. So there are these spells. If we search for something else like frost, I don't have any mods installed with frost in the name, it'll go right here to this wonderful magic menu chooser. You can look at the destruction spells versus the conjuration spells and sort them easily like so. See their cost, see all kinds of things, except obviously you can just boop, 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 boop. You can just take them, they're added to your player right away, and we close out of that menu, and we can see them here in our magic menu added. So that's basically the mod. That's all it's supposed to do. You can search for spells. It'll search amongst all your mods and show you matching mod names, unless there are no matching mod names, in which case it'll just show you the spells. For mod authors out there, there's one advanced feature that's pointed out, which is by default, this will only show you spells that have associated spell tomes. So if you're a mod author and you have dozens of spells in your game, but maybe only 2 are actually spells with tomes associated with them, and you want to use this to try out your spells, you can go into the console and set this global variable, add spell menu requires spell tome to 0. This is just for mod authors. And in this case, when you search, it may take a while to search, up to like 5-6 seconds or something. It'll give you a little notification that it's still searching, because now it's going to search through thousands and thousands and thousands of spells in the game. But you can also just list those from within your mod using that option. So it's pretty fun. Obviously 100% props go out really for the inspiration for this, which is AddItemMenu. The AddItemMenu code wasn't looked at or used. No assets from that game, from that mod were used. The real goal actually here was to create this wonderful screencast series that walks new modders and existing modders through how to do something like this and how to create a cool mod like the AddItemMenu mod yourself. But in this case, it makes add spell menu. I hope you find it enjoyable. I hope at least one modder out there learns something from that video series and learns that it can be easy to create your own wonderful, wonderful, wonderful mods. So thank you to the author of AddItemMenu for this wonderful, wonderful inspiration. And thank you to Power of 3 for Papyrus Extender, which makes this all possible at all without C++. So thank you, and check it out on Nexus. If there's any other mod that's out there that does this, I couldn't find one, leave it in the posts, and I'll link to it from the top of this, especially if maybe it's a better mod. Otherwise, I hope folks maybe use this, but in particular, learn from it. So thank you, and happy modding. All right, bye-bye.